if you could tell us when you were born and where, and just something about your family, and we'll start there.
I was born in Chicago, Illinois in 1952, and I am the sixth of seven children. My father was an attorney, and he practiced law in the city of Chicago. And we had five boys and one girl in my family, and I was the sixth of seven children.
Wow. And I've heard you say that your father was a great role model for you.
My father was a great role model. He's somebody who valued education, he valued family, he valued hard work, and he was a man of great integrity. And so my father was a very important role model, and I was very fortunate to have such a role model.
Okay. And you then, you grew up in Wilmette, did you?
I grew up in Wilmette, north of Chicago. I went to the public school system there, and then later went on to the University of Illinois, where I studied history of science, and received a bachelor's degree from the University of Illinois in 1995. After receiving a bachelor's degree, I got in a pickup truck and drove west, and drove through Nebraska and South Dakota and Montana, and stopped in Idaho, and got myself a job. My first job was working on the Divine Ranch in Bellevue, Idaho. I was a cowboy. I cut hay and baled hay, stacked hay, moved cattle, irrigated hay, and it was a great job and a great learning experience.
Now, a lot of people at that time were probably doing something somewhat less strenuous than you when they graduated from college, either running off to Europe somewhere or something else. What motivated you to put yourself in a position where you were really working hard and really taking care of yourself and having a different kind of experience than you had?
I think that most people, when they graduated in my graduating class, went on to more traditional jobs with accounting firms or consumer products companies or financial institutions, whatever they may be. And I may have had a bit of an adventurous streak, and I wanted to understand the West. I had spent quite a bit of time during high school on a ranch in Montana, and I was very attracted to the idea of ranching and very attracted to the West and all that meant. And so I went out to experience it firsthand.
Okay. Now, as an undergraduate, as I believe as an undergraduate, you encountered an essay by Daniel Bell. Is that true, or was that during your graduate years?
That was actually when I was a graduate student at the University of Illinois. I stumbled upon an essay by a Harvard sociologist by the name of Daniel Bell. And this was in an anthology that was published by the MIT Press. In this paper, Daniel Bell theorized the concept of the post-industrial society. And he looked at the kind of economic composition of throughout history, from agrarian economies to, well, let me think about this.
Are you hearing?
You want to go?
Are you good?
Well, what I was going to do is actually, I was going
Want to go back?
Yeah, what I would. Yeah.
Okay, we'll pick it up again.
Yeah, I think the thing to do is I'll just go, because I thought it was when you were an undergrad. We'll go from the ranching to graduate school and talk about that then.
Okay.
Okay. I think that'll apply better. All right. So after your experience ranching and stuff, you did decide to go back to school.
Well, it took some time. My second job, I worked as a laborer on a construction job also in Idaho, just outside of Bellevue, in a town called Ketchum, Idaho, where Sun Valley is. And I worked on a project basically laying sewer pipe and water pipe. These are the old asbestos pipes that were made by Johns Manville and became quite infamous and caused a lot of health damage. But I used to carry those pipes around and dig the trenches and put them in the trenches and cover them up with dirt and rock, and that was a pretty good job. I later returned to the Midwest and began a career in book publishing. And I worked for a book publisher for, I think, 2 years in Illinois, working on providing editorial support and marketing support to a book publisher and distributor. It was a great learning experience, and I've always enjoyed reading. I've always had a lot of respect for books. I've always I spent a lot of time with books. I enjoy spending time in the bookstore. I enjoy spending time in the library, and books were and remain a passion. And so I enjoyed that job very, very much. And this would get us to 1978, 1979, when the economy was entering a pretty significant recession. And, as I became more active in the business community through book publishing, it became apparent to me that in my career, I would be able to accomplish more if I continued my education and became more fluent in some of the languages of commerce. And so I made the decision to go back to graduate school and see if I could become more proficient in these languages, and if you will, and enhance my skills as it related to issues like accounting and information technology, business planning, strategic planning, marketing, whatever it may be. And so I entered graduate school, I believe, in 1979 or 1980 at the University of Illinois in Urbana. I went to the University of Illinois because it was convenient, and I went to the University of Illinois because I could afford to go there. I had to pay for it myself and worked my way through graduate school, and it was a relatively affordable solution. I began in the business school and working towards a master's degree in business administration. In the course of the first year in business school, I became particularly interested in some of the more quantitative areas of study, particularly operations research and statistics and linear programming, and was introduced in, I think, 1980 to computing at the business school, and had the opportunity to spend time then in the computer labs. Understand that this is before the internet, before the personal computer, before the mini computer, before the CRT, and back then this is before the virtual operating systems, and this is the era of the mainframe computer, and they had a very significant computer facility at the University of Illinois where they had these CDC cyber computers, which are these very large mainframes that we would program in COBOL using key bunch machines and typing hollerith cards, and then you would take the stack of cards and feed it into the reader, take the reader, submit your batch to be processed, and you would give it to the person behind the counter, who would then, sometime in the next 24 hours, run your computer program for you, which more often than not would not compile because it would have an error. But I became very, very intrigued with this idea. I enjoyed the analytical, mathematic exercise of computer programming. I enjoyed the quality of thought and the structured thought that was necessary to solve problems with these computers. I enjoyed learning the languages of computing, and I decided to pursue that idea further and see if I could develop some expertise in computer technology because I believed it might be something that, first and foremost, it was an area of personal fascination and interest, and secondarily, it was apparent to me that this was an area that would experience a lot of growth in the coming decades. It was about this time, rummaging through the bookstore in the student union at the University of Illinois, which is a place I spent a lot of time just kind of randomly stumbling upon books that may be of interest about mathematics or philosophy or poetry or history. I was also always fascinated by history of science, that I stumbled upon an anthology published by the MIT Press, I think it was in 1979, called The Information Age. And it was a bunch of papers that they had assembled into this anthology about this, emerging field of information technology. And near the back of that anthology, there was a paper by a sociologist from Harvard, a gentleman by the name of Daniel Bell, in which he predicted the emergence. He coined the phrase, the post-industrial society.
Sorry, can I interrupt for 1 second? If you could just pick it up from the hypothesis, we lost the sound for a second.
Oh, sure. Just pick it up from the beginning.
All right, all right, are we back?
We're back. We're good. Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry.
Just from the hypothesis.
Okay.
So this anthology by MIT had some fascinating papers in it, and the most fascinating paper that I read in this book was by a sociologist from Harvard by the name of Daniel Bell, and in this paper he theorized the notion of the post-industrial society. And this, you understand, this is the late 70s. This again is before the internet, before the mainframe, before the personal computer, before the mini computer, before computer networking. This is before Apple. This is before Microsoft. This is before anything that we know about computing today. And he did an analysis of kind of the structure of economic activity going back to the very beginning, from pre-agrarian societies to agrarian societies. He studied the evolution to, the pre-industrial societies, and then the Industrial Revolution to industrial societies, and he theorized that the global economic structure was going through a change. Forgot to turn the phone off. It's pretty fundamental, huh? Well, might as well answer it right, and then I'll turn it off. Is Tom? Okay, so let's talk about. So we're talking about.
I think if we could just get to the post-industrial society, that's
okay. So this concept of the post-industrial society was a very, very exciting idea, and this writer theorized in that paper that we were in the process of a change in the structure of the global economy that was going to be not less far-reaching than the Industrial Revolution itself. And this was this transition to this information age, when this era when information and the accuracy and timeliness of information became the most precious resources available. This was a very exciting idea and a very motivational notion for me, and one that encouraged me to really follow my interest in information technology and see if I could develop some expertise.
So was this a bit of an epiphany for you? I mean, did you actually sort of stop internally and say, wait a minute, this is something, did a light bulb go off over your head is what I'm sort of trying to...
This concept of the post-industrial society that I came upon in 1980 was clearly a life-changing event for me. Okay, this idea and this fundamental belief in the truth of that idea is a notion that directly inspired and motivated most of what I did professionally from that point going forward in my career.
Yeah. So then you focused throughout the rest of your postgraduate education in moving in that direction, buoyed by this contextual bearing in a sense.
This was the idea of the post-industrial society was a very, very exciting idea that was going to change the world. It was going to improve the quality of life. It was going to make the world a better place. It was going to fundamentally change the way that people work, the way that they communicate, the way that they live, and the way that they entertain themselves. And this was an idea that I thought I wanted to participate in. And so much of my education, much of my professional career, and much of what I have done has been about participating in that process, trying to understand it, and trying to contribute to the realization of the potential in that idea.
Okay, so following your postgraduate education, you moved in a direction. Why don't we pick it up right there?
And so after stumbling upon this idea of the post-industrial society, I decided to pursue this idea further, and I applied to the engineering school at the University of Illinois, to which I was admitted, and then pursued an advanced degree in computer science, which I completed in 1983. In the course of studying computer science, something I very, very much enjoyed and thrived upon, and was a great challenge and a great learning experience. I stumbled upon an emerging technology called relational database technology. And I thought that this was an exciting technology, something that was likely to contribute in a large way to this idea of the post-industrial society, this idea of this information age. And I made the decision to see if I could develop some expertise in that particular domain. And so I focused my research and I focused my studies on relational database technology. I graduated from the University of Illinois from graduate school in 1983 and was approached by a startup company in Silicon Valley called Oracle Corporation. That, lo and behold, happened to be in the business of trying to realize the potential in relational database systems and bring relational database systems to market. As of 1983, I think it is accurate to say that no commercially viable relational database system had been brought to market. And I met these people, and I interviewed with Larry Ellison and Bob Miner and the other founders of Oracle. At the time, it was a very small company. I believe that they had 40 employees globally. And they seemed like bright people who had a very good idea. And I thought a high probability that they were going to succeed at what they were doing. And so I decided to throw my hat in with them and roll up my sleeves and see if I could help realize the potential in the concept of Oracle.
So what was Oracle trying to do? What were they, how is relational database technology being applied by them that formulated the idea that then became what we see today, that you were interested in working with?
As of 1980, relational database technology was really a concept that had been theorized in some papers that had been published out of IBM. And in these papers, the authors conceived of an entirely new construct based upon the mathematical concepts of set theory to store, organize, and retrieve information. And most importantly, they developed a language to realize that opportunity. And as of 1980, a viable commercial relational database system had not yet been designed and developed. So the effort in the early 80s was, fundamentally about market development. It was fundamentally about product definition, and it was about doing some very, very significant research, capital R, little d in development to realize the potential in this idea.
Could you just sort of tell us what relational database technology can do in terms of its ability to capture and redistribute information in such a way that a large company or concern can then find, et cetera? I mean, a very practical definition.
Well, without going into too much detail, very much of what almost a core component of almost every consumer or commercial business computer application relates to the storage and retrieval of information. And when you get into military, scientific, or commercial applications, you can be dealing with very, very large sets of information. And relational database technology offered the benefit of thinking about storing and retrieving this information in a mathematically and logically consistent and coherent fashion that would offer the potential to dramatically reduce the cost of building and maintaining such applications. So this would serve the purpose of making computers much more ubiquitous. This would be serve the purpose of making these applications much more successful, and this would serve the purpose of dramatically reducing the cost of information technology across all forms of applications.
So it made it a lot easier to take in information, to store information, and to find what you needed when you needed it.
It was economically a very compelling idea, offering, say, order of magnitude cost decreases in any way that you might want to measure cost, whether these are you measure them in CPU seconds or man hours or in the quantity of storage required.
Okay. And so you then went to work at Oracle, and what did you do there? And I know you enjoyed some success.
I was hired at Oracle in 1983 in a technical support capacity, and I worked in the Chicago office, and my job was to work with customers to help them understand their information technology requirements and work with them to explain to them how relational database technology might be applied to their information requirements successfully. And so it was a technical job associated with kind of the practical application of the technology. It was challenging, it was interesting, it was invigorating, and I enjoyed every minute of it. I later, I think after being in technical support for about a year, I later went into sales, and I was in sales in Chicago and then Washington, D.C., and I approached the sales process primarily from the perspective of an engineer, and I seemed to develop some proficiency at working with customers to help them distill their frequently, often vaguely and ambiguously stated requirements into clear, concise problem statements. So I would help them clearly articulate their information requirements, and then due to my the proficiency that I had developed in relational database technology, I was able to explain to them in frequently non-technical terms how this technology might be successfully applied to address their information requirements. And that proved pretty effective. It was you're good.
Oh, okay.
Just don't slam the door on your way by, okay?
Yeah.
No problem. You going up to the city?
Yeah, I'm leaving. See you guys.
Um,
Can I close the other door before you guys start again? Sometimes there's noise.
And size. Okay, so I'm sorry. You were saying that you had then gone to Washington in sales with Oracle.
yeah, I did. I moved to Washington, D.C. With Oracle in a sales capacity. And I became, over a period of time, a pretty effective salesperson. And I think the extent to which I was effective was a result of, I think, an ability that I had developed to help people clearly distill and clearly articulate their information requirements so that they were clearly and concisely stated. And then due to a relatively thorough background in the underlying technology, I was able to explain to them clearly how the information technology, and frequently convincingly, how the information technology could be applied to successfully address their information requirement. And I found that when the problem was well stated and then a solution was forthcoming, that people were enthusiastic about adopting the technology. So that became a successful formula in selling, and one that allowed me to achieve some levels of success in sales of information technology.
In fact, you were actually very, very successful. You were the number one salesperson in the Oracle.
Yeah, I very quickly became the top salesperson in the world at Oracle. My territory included, at that time, 10 states and half the federal government. Today, there are probably I'm certain there are thousands of people fulfilling that role, and it was a great job.
So you continued in that job for some period of time, and then eventually you left Oracle.
Well, I was in sales at Oracle for about a year or two, and then in 1985, they asked me to transfer out to California to participate in the management of the firm. And so I moved out to Northern California in 1985 to Oracle's headquarters. Then on Sand Hill Road in Menlo Park, the headquarters facility was about a 12,000 square foot facility at the time. And I, over the next few years, assumed a number of roles. Initially, I ran strategic marketing, which was responsible for selling to their most significant accounts, and then I ran the industry marketing organization that was responsible for sales and marketing to certain vertical segments like the automotive industry, financial services industry, telecommunications industry. I later went on to build the product marketing division at Oracle. So I was responsible for the expansion of Oracle out of, initially they were just on what were called mini computers, and back then they were called VAXs. A VAX was manufactured by Digital Computer Corporation. And we wanted to expand our footprint at Oracle beyond the VAX into IBM mainframes, other mini computers, Unix computers, and personal computers. And so I was responsible for driving that transition. So I was responsible for the product specification and the product marketing associated with Oracle's move into portability, a move that proved very successful. After getting that organization started, I went on to manage something called the direct marketing division, where we built the telesales organization, the telemarketing organization, the VAR organization. And I was with Oracle until, I was with Oracle until about 1989 or 1990.
Somewhere during that time, you encountered a technology that helped you to do your job and that you thought might have a wider application. So let's introduce CRM here and talk about your recognition of it in the context of Oracle and whatever transpired with the management of Oracle and your thoughts on that.
When I ran the direct marketing division at Oracle, which would have been in the 1988 to 1990 timeframe, I had a large sales organization reporting to me. And we lived in a pretty complex world where there were lots of products, lots of competitors, lots of customers. We dealt with lots of product information, pricing information, configuration information, competitive information, customer requirements, multiple languages, multiple currencies. It was a non-trivial effort to be able to organize this information to address the customer's requirements. And I thought that this would be a natural application for information technology and communication technology. So I began thinking about and ultimately developed a computer software program at Oracle that allowed Oracle to organize everything it knew about its products, everything it knew about its prices, pricing, competitive information, product configuration information, customers and customer requirements into an online information system that would enable a salesperson or a customer service person to address the customer's requirements very, very effectively and very, very quickly. And that application became known as was called OASIS, the Oracle Automated Sales Information System. That was a very, very successful system at Oracle and drove a lot of growth and a lot of market penetration. So then that was probably, I think, certainly the first large-scale, successful application of information technology applied to the sales, marketing, and customer service process that was ever affected.
So you recognized in this the potential for a standalone application or a standalone concern, commercial concern, et cetera, and perhaps I misunderstood, but I think you then took that idea to management and had some discussions with them about its potential as a standalone.
Given the success of the application that I built at Oracle, designed and built, it was clear to me that this was a type of utility that many organizations would want to take advantage of were it available. And so I approached Larry Ellison with the idea of building a commercial implementation of the system we had built at Oracle, a sales, marketing, customer service system that we could offer as part of the Oracle application suite. And Oracle had other priorities at the time, and this was not of interest to him. And so we talked about it, and he decided it was something he did not want to pursue. And based upon that, I made the decision to leave the company because I thought this is an idea that I wanted to pursue. It was a dream that I wanted to realize. It was a vision that I thought was important, and I thought it would provide a very interesting experience. So in 1989, I left Oracle with the idea of starting Siebel Systems.
And you had a small digression there on your road to Siebel Systems.
Yeah, these things happen in funny ways. And so I left Oracle and began working on a business plan for Siebel Systems. And the way that these things work, the phone rings and, executive recruiter called with a company that he thought offered lots of potential, and they needed a leader for this company. It was a company called Cayenne Systems that had some interesting technology in the area of computer-aided instruction that they were applying in Japan. And I went and met the company and met the people and looked at the technology. And based upon the potential that was there, and I thought the potential was a little different than where they had began, I decided to go to work for them and take the job running that company. So I became the CEO of the company, and I renamed the company Gain Technology, and I repositioned the technology from a maker of instructional software to a provider of a software environment that would allow organizations to build multi-user applications of any type that incorporated sound, motion, video, graphics, text, and hypertext. Now, as we talk about this in 2008, that's we see this every day on the internet. We see this every day on our telephone. We see this every day in applications of all forms. But as of 1990, no such application existed. So this was a very exciting, very new idea, and it was an idea that was met with high levels of enthusiasm by the market. We ran Gain Technology was an employee-owned company. It was a consistently profitable business. It was a very rapidly growing business. And we were approached by Siebel, which was a successful relational database firm at the time, to merge with them. And after considering the opportunity in some length and considering the capability that Gain had at the time, the capability that Sybase had at the time, and the complementary nature of the technologies, that was a merger that we elected to pursue. And so we exchanged our ownership in Gain Technology for 10% of the outstanding stock of Sybase at the time. And that proved a very successful acquisition for them.
Okay. So at that point, then, you were footloose once again, although you were certainly a man of resources, and you returned to the idea of Siebel Systems. Is that...
So after concluding the sale of Gain to Sybase, that enabled me to focus on my real purpose, which was to explore the idea of applying information technology and communication technology to the process of sales, marketing, customer service. So in July of 1993, I formed Siebel Systems with Pat House, and I got together and founded the company. We met in my library in Woodside, California. We outlined, the product concept. We outlined the company concept. We conceived of and articulated the core values of the company. We conceived of, discussed, and articulated kind of the purpose of the company, why we were here, what we wanted to accomplish. We opened a bank account. We opened some offices in East Palo Alto, and we went about the business of seeing if we could realize the potential in the idea.
Now, you at that point, the CRM, the systems weren't called CRM yet at that time, were they, or were they?
When we started Siebel Systems in 1993, the concept of CRM had not yet been conceived, and it was a name that we later introduced, and so that name did not exist. People frequently thought about sales information systems, and when we began, we began in the business of building sales information systems. We later expanded that concept in 1985 and 1986. We expanded that concept in 1995 and 1996 to include the domains of not only sales, but marketing and customer service. After we began to realize that vision, we conceived of the name CRM, or Customer Relationship Management, and that became the name by which that category of application software came to be known.
Now, you when Siebel Systems started, it was really the tech boom was really beginning to pick up speed at that point, if I have my history correct. And your approach to it, to a corporate culture, was very different than sort of the Hewlett-Packard model, which was behind some of the others. So some people were throwing Nerf balls around, and you weren't. Could you talk about why you undertook to establish a culture within your company that was somewhat different than some of the others, and what that culture was and what it was about?
Well, the information technology marketplace had realized a lot of expansion from 1984 to about 1989. And then say about 1990, okay? And then we hit a pretty significant recession in the information technology business. When we started Siebel in 1992, there was a significant recession in the information technology market, a significant recession in Silicon Valley, very, very high levels of vacancy in commercial buildings, high levels of unemployment. The stock market was down, and people were generally pessimistic. Now, we began in 1993. We engaged in research and development in 1994, 1995. We began to big products to market in 1995. As we get into 1996, 7, 8, 9, the information technology marketplace experienced an economic explosion on the order of which is possibly very possible, on the order of which is possibly unprecedented in the history of economics. This was a very, very large boom. And it was what was going on in the marketplace. Here we have the advent of the internet. We have the advent of the personal computer. We have the ubiquity of the personal computer. We have very, very rapid growth in information technology. And financial markets knew that these things were important. But the way that financial markets frequently respond to important economic events, as they did, say, in the 20s with with urban electrification in the United States, or they did in, say, the 1870s, 1880s, associated with the boom in the railroads. Okay, is that they don't know quite how to value them, and they overvalue them for a period of time, resulting in these just dramatic stock market expansions. Well, this is what we saw from, say, 1996 to 2000. And during that period of time, there was a culture in Silicon Valley that I think would be characterized by, candidly, arrogance. It was very young people that would go to work in T-shirts and blue jeans and play Nerf ball and bring their dogs to work, and everything was easy and the money was easy, and you really didn't have to have discipline, you didn't have to work, you didn't have to comb your hair for a customer or polish your shoes, and it was just all you had to go to work, and all you had to do was be employed, and you were going to be a millionaire. And many, many, many millionaires were coined. This is not the philosophy to which we subscribed at Siebel Systems. We were first and foremost in the customer service business. We were a group of serious, committed. Take a break.
Okay. So into this environment you guys come, and all of a sudden there's this boom, and you're positioned, and you've got this product, and Siebel Systems really begins to cook.
We found that, as we began to develop these products that allowed organizations to apply information technology and communication technology to the business processes associated with sales, marketing, and customer service, that the demand exceeded our expectations, and exceeded our expectations considerably. Every time we looked at the market was bigger than we thought. The customers were more receptive than we had anticipated, and honestly, the competitors were a lot weaker than we had anticipated. If you look at the market for this type of application, as of 1993, there were over 400 companies globally providing these solutions in a market that might have a combined revenue of about $100 million, which was not very much. So that they were all largely unsuccessful. The fundamental thesis of Siebel Systems was that were we to develop a application, a software where we develop a software architecture and a family of applications that would allow organizations to successfully apply information technology and communication technology to these business processes of sales, marketing, customer service, that there might be a demand for such a solution. And that proved to be true.
Now you demonstrated here this remarkable focus and the ability once again to see the single strand that's the one that counts within a complex of strands, and focus on the one, while perhaps others were focusing all over the place and perhaps being less successful as a result. Maybe you could articulate the way in which Siebel did focus on the one application and how that sort of echoed throughout the way that the business was pursued.
At every stage in the game, from the original conception of the idea through the development of the company in later years, we maintained a very clear, very crisp focus on a small number of objectives. The original objective was in the area of applying information technology and communication technology to the business processes of sales. This became known as sales automation, and our products were all focused in that area initially, and we did not go beyond that focus until we had brought to market a very, very successful product offering that our customers communicated to us repeatedly and clearly that it met or exceeded their customer expectations. Then we expanded into customer service, and then we expanded into marketing, and then we expanded into marketing analytics. And but it was very, very carefully we would move forward from kind of one clear focus to the next. And so over about 13 years, though, we developed maybe 400 applications in 25 languages. We became the world's leading provider of sales automation systems, world's leading provider of customer service systems, world's leading provider of marketing automation systems, world's leading provider of call center systems. We became the world's leading provider in the banking industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the automotive industry, the chemical industry, education, consulting, professional services, whatever it may be. We had one of the important litmus tests that we would use when we're thinking about expanding our market footprint was the litmus test of market share. We would not enter a market unless we were satisfied that we could command at least 50% market share. And as we, 13 years later, I believe we had something like 80% market share in the markets of sales, marketing, and customer service. We were substantially larger than the sum of all the other competitors in the world combined. So that proved to be a successful strategy, particularly in the market downturn. So we saw this irrationally expansive information technology market from, say, 1983 to, we saw this rapidly expansive, we saw this irrationally expansive information technology market from perhaps 1993 to 1999, 2000, and a associated irrational response in the financial community as we saw the NASDAQ move from on the order of 800 to on the order of 5,000. And then when the bubble burst in about 2000, we saw a very, very dramatic decline as the NASDAQ went from, say, 5,000 to, I recall, about 1,200 by 2003. And that contraction in the information technology marketplace from 2000 to 2003 was a cataclysmic event. And thousands of software and hardware companies went out of business. Okay, all of those companies where the people would show up to work with their dogs and their cutoffs and their T-shirts and their tie-dye shirts and play Nerf ball, they closed their doors and went out of business. These were the WebMDs of the world, the Netscapes of the world, the Go's of the world, the EOs of the world. They're all gone, and they were there. So all of these companies then, well, these people had to learn how to, press their pants, polish their shoes, and go find a job. So from 2000 to 2003, we saw thousands of companies go out of business. But yet Siebel, due to its market share, due to its market leadership, was able to continue to generate cash even in light of that dramatic market expansion. During this period of time, even companies...
The dramatic market contraction.
Yes. So from 2000 to 2003, we saw the information technology marketplace saw a economic contraction that was perhaps unprecedented in the history of economics. I mean, the Nasdaq went from 5,000 to 1,200. Intel lost 80% of their market value. Thousands of companies went out of business. But Siebel was able to continue to prosper. It didn't grow. Matter of fact, it got smaller. But due to its market position, due to the disciplines that it had in place, due to the robust business processes that were in place, Siebel Systems generated $1.8 billion in free cash flow during that market downturn. That was very significant success.
And you had many quarters of great success. In fact, you were a phenom, really, in within the whole high tech world at the time when everybody was looking at the high tech world. And I guess my question would be, on one hand, did it go to your head at the point where you were flying very high and everybody was saying, Tom Siebel's a great phenom, and anticipating your answer, was it your sort of calm rationality that helped you to analyze and see the contraction before it came in such a way that you were able to scale down enough to continue showing a real good positive cash flow, even when everybody else was?
The 90s were very heady times, very frothy times in the information technology market. It was crazy. And from 1993 to 2000, Siebel grew from nothing to about $2 billion in revenue. I think we generated we brought on 38 million customers between 38 million, off by a factor of 10 there.
Bug in the room?
There is.
Where is it?
I know, it's very loud.
You rocking?
Okay.
You rolling here? Okay.
Rolling.
The 90s in the information technology industry were insane. I mean, it was crazy. And there was the amount of growth that companies were experiencing, the prosperity that was taking place, the frenzy associated with the internet and information technology was really wild. I mean, it was a great time to be alive. And these were very heady times. companies were experiencing a lot of growth. Understand that Siebel Systems from 1993 to 2000 grew from virtually zero to $2 billion in revenue. We took on 4,500 of the largest customers in the world. There's the IBMs, the Hewlett Packards, the Credit Suisse, the Credit Lyonnais, China Telecom, Daimler, Chrysler, Ford, General Motors, SmithKline Beecham, Pfizer, you name it, United States government. And by 2003, I believe we had 3.8 million users live in our systems. Okay, this is the fastest growing software company in history, isn't it? Even as of today, it's now, we're in 2008, and it is, this was to this date the fastest growing software company in history. These were wild times. We did our best to stay grounded, to keep our employees grounded, and to stay focused on a singular purpose, and that was this notion that we were in business to do for one purpose and one purpose only. It wasn't to make money. It wasn't to experience growth. Okay? It wasn't for fame. It wasn't for fortune. Our sole purpose was to do whatever it took to make sure that each and every one of our customers were satisfied. We had a consistent, concerted, dedicated focus on customer satisfaction. We measured it. Okay, we talked about it all the time. We tied all of our compensation to customer satisfaction. And it was, I think, something that kept everybody well grounded. It kept us focused, and it allowed us to achieve the highest levels of customer satisfaction in the information technology industry.
And I've seen many interviews where they keep saying quarter to quarter, this can't last forever, Mr. Siebel, what do you think? Defend what you're doing. And you want to talk a little bit about the way that you were being viewed at that time and the way in which you saw, from your perspective, how did it feel? How did it look?
Well, we knew that the market was going to contract because that's what markets do. Okay, I'm a student of history, and markets contract. Every 10 or 15 years, they contract, particularly rapidly expanding markets. We look at the plastics industry, we look at the consumer products industry, we look at the internet, we can look at urban electrification, you can look at railroads. These markets expand, and then they contract. This is what they do. Economies grow, and then they recess, and then they grow, and then they recess. So every planning cycle that we engaged in, every business plan that we embarked upon, every financial planning exercise that we engaged in was in the anticipation of a market correction, in the anticipation of market contraction. Thus, the focus on market share. Okay? Our focus that we would not enter a market unless we could get greater than 50% market share was about the anticipation of a market decline. We knew it was coming. It was inevitable. Okay? And when the market declined, it was only the market leaders in their respective markets that would be able to continue to generate cash. Okay? To continue to generate free cash flow. Those companies who could not generate free cash flow were going to go out of business. They're going to be acquired. They're going to close their doors. Okay? And in fact, that's what happened. From 2000 to 2003, thousands of companies closed their doors. Siebel Systems continued to prosper. Virtually all of our competitors went out of business between 1993 and 2003. Scopus, Vantiv, Clarify, who else was there? Virtually all of our competitors went out of business.
Just say the sentence, Siebel Systems continued to prosper, so we can cut that back into where you said, if you would just say that sentence and we could just cut it back in.
Siebel Systems continued to prosper.
Okay, great. During that period of time also, I know that you began, as you were prospering, to undertake some philanthropy, but you approached it from an entrepreneurial sort of point of view. And I've heard the term entrepreneurial philanthropy, perhaps from you. Maybe you can just talk a little bit, pause for a moment in terms of the the growth of the company and everything, to talk about how at that same time you began to think about applying some of the resources that you command toward philanthropy, what entrepreneurial philanthropy is and why.
Well, we are engaged in an area, or in a there are a number of approaches to philanthropy. Many people get to the stage in their life where they want to give back to the community. They want to contribute to society. They want to make the neighborhood a better place. They want to participate in their church. They want to participate in their school. They want to participate in the education system, the healthcare system, whatever it may be. And the usual approach to philanthropy is to, identify good causes and then to contribute to those good causes. And that is all well and good, and it results in a lot of good things happening. That doesn't happen to be the approach that we have taken. We are focused on a concept that we call strategic philanthropy. And strategic philanthropy is about the creation of ideas, okay? The creation of organizations that we think might affect a positive change. Just like in the relational database field, or just like in the multimedia field with GAIN, or just like in the CRM field. These are areas where we've found needs in the marketplace that were not being met by other solutions that were being offered by the market. And so we tried to conceive of something that would fill that void. Okay, strategic philanthropy is a very similar idea. It's kind of an assessment of the market to look for a need that is being fulfilled and see if you can contribute to a solution in that void. What are some examples of this? Well, I've spent a lot of time in the state of Montana ever since I was in high school and college, and in the last 10 or 15 years, we spent a lot of time with our family there. We have a ranch there, and we're involved in agribusiness in Montana to some extent. And if you spend time in Montana, you come to learn that they have a very serious problem. They had a very serious problem associated with a drug called methamphetamine. And methamphetamine is a synthetic substance that people will usually try when they're a teenager, generally between first-time use, generally between the ages of 12 and 17 years of age. And it is a highly deleterious, very, very fast-acting addictive agent. And from the period of time of, say, 1995 to 2005, in many states in the United States, methamphetamine abuse reached epidemic proportions. And it caused all sorts of havoc in the healthcare system. It causes havoc in the criminal justice system. The prisons are full. Families are broken. Relationships are broken. Lives are destroyed. People become paranoid, delusional. They incur serious brain damage, and they are, in fact, crippled for life. And the solutions that were being offered by society as of 2005 were very much focused upon incarceration. the war on drugs that was introduced by first Nelson Rockefeller and then Richard Nixon in the 70s has resulted in putting 2.3 million people in the U.S. prison system, up from, say, 230,000 in 1970. About 60% of those people are there for drug crimes. And that was the solution that was being applied in 2003, 2004, and 2005 as it related to methamphetamine. You do a little research on methamphetamine, you find out it was in fact the number one drug problem in America. It was in fact the number one crime problem in America. And we thought about that for a while, and we saw it, and we saw a very critical social problem that was being not being addressed by existent solutions, and we thought we might be able to contribute to a solution. And so we conceived of this concept of the Meth Project. And the Meth Project the idea of the Meth Project was to launch a large-scale prevention effort focused at people who had not yet tried methamphetamine, to educate them about the product attributes, under the notion that were they so educated and understood the actual benefits and the actual risks associated with the product, that they would be in a position to make a better informed product consumption decision when they were given the opportunity to consume. That was the theory. And so just like we addressed the problem at Oracle, and just like we addressed the problem at Gain, and just like we addressed the problem or the opportunity at Siebel Systems, we tried to distill the problem to a simple problem statement. Okay, we tried to define the problem well. Okay, and then we assembled, a partner ecosystem, capital, human capital, talent, and put together a plan focused on addressing the problem. In the case of the Meth Project, it is now expanded beyond. We began in Montana in September of 2005. We have engaged in very large-scale messaging focused at young people in the state, broadcasting these messages on TV, radio, print, display, internet, and it has been exceptionally effective in reducing methamphetamine use. The Meth Project is now active in Montana, Arizona, Idaho, Wyoming, Illinois. I suspect in the next 6 months, as I speak, it is August of 2008, and is it August or September?
August still.
As I speak is August of 2008, and I believe in the next 6 months, the Meth Project activities will have expanded into Georgia, South Carolina, Hawaii, and Colorado. And these projects are having, these activities are having enormous beneficial effect in reducing methamphetamine use. In the state of Montana, for example, teenage methamphetamine use has decreased by 50% in the last 2 years. Meth crimes are down 63%. Adult meth use is down 70%. This is the most successful prevention effort of any kind in history. And so it's a very, very exciting project. This is strategic philanthropy. Another example, so now we have, again, the Illinois Meth Project, the Arizona Meth Project, the Wyoming Meth Project, the Idaho Meth Project, the Montana Meth Project, and there will be more.
What I'd like to do is, if we could, and I apologize for switching gears on you. What I was hoping to do with that question, although we got great stuff, which is perfect, was just to get a sense from a chronological point of view as to when you really began thinking and focusing on philanthropy while you were at Siebel. And what I'd like to then is if we can establish the chronology and then move beyond Siebel, and then we'll get into the whole philanthropy thing, really focus on that.
Okay.
So during this very heady time at Siebel, and you had commanded of great resources, when did you decide, or perhaps you'd always, when did you start thinking about philanthropy and that sort of thing?
As Siebel Systems continued to prosper, say in the late 90s, 2001, 2002, 2003, and continued to enjoy success, continue to gain market share, we tried to find ways to give back to the community. I think it was an important thing to do because it's the right thing. It was also an important message to send to employees and customers. I think it kept people well grounded. And so we began to focus on homelessness, and we made some very significant contributions to organizations that alleviated homelessness and the consequences of homelessness in the communities in which we operated. For example, the Salvation Army. We also, after the catastrophe of 9/11, we made some very significant contributions to Blue Cross Blue Shield. We made some very significant contributions to the Red Cross. We made some very significant contributions to the Salvation Army in Washington, D.C. and in New York City to help alleviate the suffering associated with that event. So we tried to find ways as Siebel Systems to contribute to the community, to help people in need in areas where there was need. Katrina in New Orleans, 2011 problems in New York, Washington, D.C., homelessness in San Francisco and San Jose. And as the company did this, then I tended to contribute personally also. So this was, I perhaps tried to show some leadership for the employees and for the shareholders. And I would say in the late 90s and early part of the 21st century, we began to make some pretty significant contributions to the community.
Maybe we could, without going into them at this moment, just enumerate things like, and I don't know which things started when, but I take that Siebel Scholars actually started at some point during this time as the
Siebel Scholars was another example of an area where the company I think contributed significantly to give back to the community, where we established scholarships at some of the leading graduate schools of computer science and graduate schools of business to foster a community of leaders from these graduate schools who would, we thought, go on in their careers and their lives to make significant contributions to society. And we wanted to do what we could to foster and encourage and recognize that.
Okay. So, at this point, things are moving along. The economy begins to contract, and we approach the period when Siebel and Oracle merge, or whatever word. So perhaps we could explore that, and then we'll move into First Virtual and all of that stuff.
Well, Siebel Systems and Oracle had been competitors for about a decade. And Oracle had repeatedly attempted to get into the market that Siebel frankly dominated and was not very successful at accomplishing that. So let's look at what's going on from, say, 2000 to 2003 in the information technology marketplace. We see dramatic contraction in markets, dramatic contraction in financial markets, dramatic contraction in market valuation, very, very significant layoffs going on in companies. Companies are closing their doors every day. They're running out of cash. They're going bankrupt. We're in a very significant recession. Things are not good. At the same time, we saw a structural change in the software market and you could see this in the demand profile of the marketplace, where in the 80s and 90s, customers were looking for best of breed applications from individual providers, be they operating system providers, database providers, and the various range of application software providers that might be in there of human resources, accounting, manufacturing, sales, marketing, customer service. It was their desire to find the best application from a specific vendor and integrate them into a solution. I think the economic downturn of 2000 to 2003 and the resultant contraction, very dramatic contraction in the information technology business, fueled and accelerated a change in the demand characteristics, where it's clear to me that customers going forward were going to be looking for an integrated set of solutions from a much smaller number of providers. And that made us really take pause and assess our strategic position, so that when we were approached in 2002 or 2003, I forget exactly when it was, by Oracle with the idea of combining forces with them to provide a powerful kind of integrated family of applications, it was clear to me that that was the direction the market was going. It was clear to me that that was in the best interest of the shareholders. It was in the best interest of our customers. It was going to be in the best interest of our employees. And it was a promising idea. And so I elected to pursue that discussion with Oracle. And ultimately, we culminated a very, very successful business combination.
And that would have been when?
That would have been, I think that transaction was concluded, if I'm not mistaken, in February of 2006.
Can you, your collar has come down there.
Is that right, Nita? February 2006?
Yeah,
Oh.
it's a little cockeyed still.
Systems. Is there anything else that we need to, I'm asking both of you, that we should address or touch on or otherwise articulate?
I didn't know if you wanted an answer to that culture question. That's where the truck came in, and then when he came back, you guys talked about something else entirely.
Oh, okay.
So you never closed on that, just FYI.
Right. Well, then let's re-examine that. And I'd love to bring in what Nitsa mentioned yesterday, which is great in terms of alignment. That is, and one of the reasons why everybody wasn't running around in sneakers and bouncing off the walls is because the people that they were talking to weren't running around in sneakers and bouncing off the walls. And if you're customer relations management, obviously what you want to show is that you know how to make the customer comfortable, among other things. Just this whole notion of the alignment, mission alignment definition. So why don't we return to that question and as follows. During that time, there were a lot of high-tech companies just like mushrooms everywhere, and people were running around in, as you say, tennis shoes and Nerf balls and tie-dye and one thing and another, and yet you elected to form a company along very different lines and almost polar opposite of that in terms of your company's culture. Perhaps you could, one, sort of tell us what that culture was, and two, tell us why you elected to go that route and how it contributed to your success.
Siebel Systems had a very unique corporate culture. We were very businesslike. We were very professional. We extended the highest levels of interpersonal courtesy to one another and to customers. And we were focused with a singular, laser-like, consistent focus that we would do absolutely anything it took to keep the customer satisfied, to make the customer satisfied, and to keep the customer satisfied. That's what it was about. It was about professionalism. It was about courtesy. It was about excellence. And it was about customer satisfaction. These were the core components of what became a very, very rich corporate culture at Siebel Systems. And I think that culture was one of the primary reasons for the success of the organization.
So did you have a dress code, for example? Were people expected to dress in a certain way? Were the offices, I don't want to lose this, about that versus your approach?
Siebel Systems operated in 84 offices Siebel Systems operated in over 130 offices in 29 countries. And all of our offices were professional. They were neat. People were dressed appropriately for their job function. And so if they were in the business of customer-facing position, they were dressed, very, very business-like. Understand, we were doing business on a day-to-day basis with some of the largest organizations in the world. These information technology deployments with which we were engaged were amongst the largest of information technology deployments ever deployed. I mean, we had over 100,000 users at IBM, over 80,000 users at Hewlett Packard. These were very, very large information technology deployments. These were mission critical applications that had to work. And if for some reason it didn't work, the success of this bank, of this investment bank, of this information technology company, of this automotive company, of this chemical company, this would have a significant adverse effect upon the company, the executives, their shareholders, their customers. This was important stuff. This wasn't the stuff of kids, playing in sandboxes. This was business conducted at a high level, and that's what we were engaged in. We left the Nerf balls, the sandboxes, the ping pong tables, and the Labrador Retrievers to the Netscapes of the world and the Go's of the world and the EOs of the world, all of which went out of business.
A counter approach, the Nerf ball approach. Some would say, not least perhaps David Packard, that a less formal environment fosters a more creative kind of a situation where ideas bubble up and things come out of it. What was your thought along those lines? Whether you were losing anything or whether...
We had a unique corporate culture. It was highly professional. It was rigorous. It was a little bit buttoned down. And it was a very appropriate culture designed to meet the needs of our customers and make sure that our customers were happy. We weren't there, primarily for our own satisfaction. We weren't there primarily for our own recreation. We were not there primarily to create wealth for employees. Okay, we were there primarily. We were there secondarily. We were there, in every other respect to do whatever it took to make our customers satisfied. We were in the customer service business, and that was a culture that was very appropriate and exceptionally successful.
Is it possible that because you had such confidence in the idea and in your own ability to distill the idea and see it clearly, that you didn't feel that you needed that kind of yeasty environment because you knew what you were doing and the question of what you were going to do had been resolved prior to the endeavor?
We believed then, and we continue to believe today, okay, that this business of building great organizations, this business of building high performance organizations that achieve excellence and make significant contributions to the economy, significant contributions to the community, is not a casual exercise. Okay? These sorts of events of great organizations, high performance people, high performance organizations, significant breakthroughs, okay, of healthy, growing, self-sustaining entities are not accomplished casually. They're not done in tie-dye t-shirts, in shorts, barefoot, on the beach. Okay? They're not. Okay? They're done with well-educated people. They're done with well-trained people. They're done with rigorous planning processes. They're done with robust corporate cultures or organizational cultures. They're done with a singularity of purpose. Okay? And they're done where they're done in an environment where there is a common sense of purpose of well-trained, well-organized people trying to achieve greatness. This, in our opinion, is the stuff of great organizations. And this is the type of culture that we tried to instill at Siebel Systems. This was the culture that we instill at Gain. This was the culture that we instill at First Virtual Group, at the Meth Project, at the Tom and Stacy Siebel Foundation, at virtually every organization with which we are associated.
Okay. Then moving beyond the Siebel Oracle merger or whatever, there was perhaps an interval. Could we just deal with sort of the aftermath of that, and if there was no adjustment, perhaps there wasn't, but just your sort of repositioning yourself and your own resources and things like that, and then we'll get into First Virtual and the various philanthropic endeavors. Well, in the course of building Siebel Systems and managing Siebel Systems, I also developed we also started a number of other organizations. Okay, we started a commercial real estate business that became known as First Virtual Properties. We started a philanthropic business known as the Tom and Stacy Siebel Foundation. We had an investment arm known as First Virtual Capital. And so we had a number of businesses that were I had started while we were managing Siebel. And the continuation of those businesses that I had that were not associated with Siebel Systems, we coalesced into a holding company called First Virtual Group. And so there was really no transition. We just, or no upheaval, we just continued to operate those businesses and to expand those businesses. So as we get into 2006, 2007, 2008, and then hopefully going forward in 2009 and beyond, we're focused on these businesses known as First Virtual Group. And we have an investment arm called First Virtual Capital. We have a commercial real estate arm called First Virtual Properties. We have a real estate development group in Mexico called First Virtual Properties Mexico. We have an agribusiness arm in ranching operations in Montana, and we have a philanthropic arm that is known as the Tom and Stacy Siebel Foundation. And that philanthropic organization, which is, I would say, the primary business of First Virtual Group today, has in turn spawned a number of other charitable organizations that we direct, that we manage, and these include Siebel Scholars Foundation. These include the Meth Project, the Illinois Meth Project, the Arizona Meth Project, Idaho Meth Project, Wyoming Meth Project, Montana Meth Project, what have you. It includes an organization we recently started called the
Energy Free Home Foundation, which hopes to generate a significant amount of energy and entrepreneurial activity and creative focus around the idea of achieving some pretty significant breakthrough in the energy equation. We're focused on, we've founded organizations like the Siebel Stem Cell Institute, that is a institute at the University of California, Berkeley, and Stanford University that is focused on achieving some very significant breakthroughs in stem cell research as it relates to healthcare. And so these are the activities of First Virtual Group. First Virtual Group is headquartered in Palo Alto, California, and our culture is not dissimilar from the culture of the First Virtual Group companies, are not dissimilar from those of the other companies, organizations with which we've been focused in our life. We are professional. We strive to extend the highest levels of interpersonal courtesy to one another and partners and customers. We do the best to carry ourselves in the marketplace with the highest levels of business ethics and business integrity. We are very results oriented. We have a bias for action. We set very aggressive objectives. But our objectives tend to be very, very well defined. And we're just trying to carry ourselves in the market with professionalism, with quality, and with a focus on achievement.
Okay. I need to take a break myself just right now. But when we return one thing and do it incredibly well, almost as if it's a modus operandi for you. Let me just ask you to reiterate that for the camera, and if you want to expand on it at all or not, either way.
I think that a constant theme, or a constant theme in all of these organizations that we have been involved in founding and leading over the years, has been, whether this is Oracle, whether this is Gain, whether it's Siebel Systems, the Math Project, that First Virtual Group, whatever it may be, is we focus upon a singular theme, a singular idea, and try to execute that idea with excellence. And to the extent that we have been successful in these organizations, I think that factor has been a large contributor.
Great. All right. Now, the Energy Free Home Challenge, if you would first of all explain why you undertook it and what the minimizing of the energy footprint can mean, and then how you're going about stimulating the work in terms of the award and your thoughts on the award, as opposed to giving, X dollars here and X dollars there and X dollars here and X dollars there, which is another direction that somebody might go in that kind of a pursuit.
As we enter the 21st century, one of the critical problems facing us relates to the dependency upon hydrocarbons, relates to the dependency upon non-renewable fuel sources as our primary source of energy. And there's lots of reasons why this dependence is problematic, with which almost everybody is familiar. And the most troubling issue associated with it has been the lack of national leadership, the lack of anybody doing anything substantive about it. And if you look at issues associated with the generation of carbon, you look at the issues associated with peak oil, you look at the issues associated with petroleum scarcity, oil scarcity, and you project out 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it becomes very disturbing. The energy-free home challenge was a concept that we developed, we thought about, we wrestled with over some years, in that we see as an effort that will help focus attention upon the problem and possibly, hopefully, contribute to a solution. And we, just like other problems that we focused on, whether this was information technology or CRM or methamphetamine or whatever it may be, the strategy to approach the problem has been very similar. We want to develop an ecosystem. We want to go find, the partners with which we can, the partners that we might be able to, coalesce and focus their combined efforts upon a solution. The identification of human capital, financial resources, and then a strategy, and see if we can put those together with a singular focus to accomplish something. And so the singular focus that we have, that we are dealing with, relates to the home energy equation. And home energy in the United States, for example, in 2008, results in the consumption of about 40%, or building energy in the United States results in about 40% of the energy that we use, and generates about 60% of the particulate that goes into the atmosphere. And the energy-free home challenge is about assembling a number of partners, and these partners include the University of Illinois, Princeton University, Stanford University, the University of California at Berkeley, McKinsey and Company, and Tsinghua University in Beijing, to administer a global challenge with $20 million in prizes for achieving a significant breakthrough in the home energy equation. It is our goal to design and build a energy-free home, and we would define an energy-free home as a house in North America with that allows people to live the lifestyle that we have become used to, with a high level of comfort and aesthetic appeal. At the same time, a house that has zero energy footprint and can be built at the same cost as conventional construction. We want to engineer that house. We want to design that house. We want to fuel the innovation of the underlying componentry, whether this is in energy generation technology or energy saving technology, that will enable the construction of that house. And then we want to build 100 of them in an energy-free community. And we envision this community right now being built in central Illinois or perhaps in New Jersey. And if we can build, if we can fuel this innovation from teams around the world, if we can develop devices, if we can develop technologies, if we can develop designs, if we can develop integration technologies that come together in solutions, if we can build an energy-free community of 100 homes in the United States, say in a 2012, 2013 timeframe, the world will never be the same. This is an attempt to change the world, to change opinion, and to change national policy. And that's what the Energy-Free Home Challenge is all about. It is a very aggressive challenge. It is a very well-focused challenge. It is a well-funded challenge. And I believe that we have assembled an enormous wealth of human capital to address the challenge. And I think the probability of something good not coming out of this initiative is very low.
Why offer a prize to, why make it a zero-sum game, if that's what it is, as opposed to saying, we'll find 10 promising people, places, institutions, whatever, and give them each some money and say, go ahead and go to work, here's some money to do it, as opposed to saying, here's a prize, whoever comes up with the stuff gets the prize.
Well, there are multiple prizes. It's not just one. But there's a very rich history of prizes fueling very significant innovation. For example, the development of the chronograph, was a result of a prize that was sponsored by the British government. And a chronograph was necessary to enable the identification of latitude so that ships could navigate. Charles Lindbergh, his effort to sail across the Atlantic, his successful effort, was conducted to win a $25,000 prize that known as the I forgot, Ortiz.
Yeah, Ortiz.
Yeah, that's right.
You said sail, so if you could go to that one again.
Sail?
You said
his effort to sail across the...
Oh. Well, there's a very rich history of prizes fueling very significant innovation. Some examples would include the invention of the chronograph, which was invented in response to a prize that was launched by the British government to enable the navigation of ships. The Ortiz Prize, which Charles Lindbergh won when he flew across the Atlantic in the spirit of St. Louis. There's a very rich history of prizes throughout history that have accomplished some very, very significant, that have resulted in significant breakthroughs. And so we are following in that tradition. And at this time, we're very enthusiastic about the potential, and we believe that something good is likely to come of it.
Okay. When you're not doing all these other things, you're at your ranch in Montana, doing, I'm sure, a lot of very vigorous things. Maybe you could just ruminate a little bit about why you're there and what it is, what it means to you, and what it means for you, and what you're doing out there.
Well, I spent a lot of time in Montana. I have spent a lot of time in Montana for the last 40 years. I would say particularly in the last 10 or 15 years, my family and I have been able to enjoy Montana. We spent a lot of time there on horseback. We spent a lot of time hiking, fishing, enjoying the outdoors, and just appreciating nature. And so Montana is an opportunity to go with family and friends into a very natural, pristine, and beautiful outdoor environment and enjoy all that has to offer. So that's what Montana is all about.
And it's not a dude ranch, right? I mean, it's a working ranch, is it?
We operate a couple of working cattle ranches in Montana, and we have a singular focus in these ranches to deliver an exceptionally high quality beef product to market. We raise Black Angus beef, and these ranches enjoy a very, very strong reputation. We want to bring a high quality product to market, and we're doing our best to operate a reasonable scale agribusiness with the highest respect for the environment, with the highest respect for wildlife, for nature, and for the health of the consumer. And we're doing the best we can, and I'd like to think that we're making some headway.
Okay, good. So let's.
Okay, so where are we going to start? What's the activity though that has been the most fulfilling?
Yeah.
What is the activity? So the question is, what have I done that is the most fulfilling? Well, professionally speaking, it would be the experience of building and managing Siebel systems. That was the experience of a lifetime. This was the opportunity to work with exceptionally dedicated, highly trained, professional, high achieving people who were absolutely committed every day to do the right thing to meet the needs of their customers. And it was a great, great privilege to work with these people every day, arm in arm. And I think that we created a lot of jobs, we created a lot of wealth for shareholders, we created a lot of benefits for our customers, and we created market-leading products that were used by millions of people around the world who saw lots of benefit in using our products. So that was a great, great experience. I would say close to that experience would be the realization of this vision associated with the Meth Project. The Meth Project is an opportunity to work with a group of very creative, very talented, very committed people who are achieving some very, very significant breakthroughs in reducing methamphetamine abuse. And the result is thousands and thousands of saved lives, saved families, saved communities, and it is an enormously fulfilling experience to be able to be part of that.
What was the other one?
Oh, the other is advice. So guidance and advice you give to maybe young people, future generations, things that have guided you, your life that you pass on.
What advice would I have for young people? What advice do I have for the next generation? There is no substitute for education. There is no substitute for domain expertise. It is, knowledge goes a long, long way. Knowledge and commitment and energy and just a commitment to excel. That's what, but the most important thing is education.
Yeah,
We're gonna have to do that one again.
we got something.
Yeah, we have. What would be my advice for young people? Well, unquestionably, get a good education. Become a domain expert. Whatever field you want to follow, develop some domain expertise so that you can play the game at a high level. There's no substitute for that.
Okay. And among the great accomplishments of your life is the fact that you have a wonderful family. Would you like to just say a few words? Oh, sorry. Okay.
What's the problem? You don't like the pen?
It's reflecting in though.
Wait for that line to go by.
Are you picking that up?
Well, I've been the object of enormous good fortune in my life, and there is no aspect of that good fortune more important than the wonderful family that I have been provided. A loving, wonderful wife, 4 great, great children, and that family is unquestionably my greatest source of satisfaction and the most important thing that has happened to me.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Now the Illinois stuff. I think we've covered a lot of it. We don't, in terms of any personal reflections you might want to make about your upbringing or the state of Illinois or anything at all, you should just.
Hey guys,
Hey.
what's up? You ready for your interview?
Yeah.
Are ya?
Yeah. Did Riley on or did he leave?
That you want to explicate that we haven't talked about, and the $100 million pledge we haven't talked about. The University of Illinois Foundation we haven't talked about, and the Illinois Meth Project in particular.
Well, the University of Illinois was the experience of a lifetime. Here is, one of the greatest educational institutions on earth, providing a just unlimited wealth of resources available for young people to explore, to learn, to investigate, to experiment, to develop expertise. Whether these resources are scientific in nature, whether they're academic in nature, whether they're athletic in nature, the University of Illinois system is one of the great resources on earth, enabling people to grow, to develop, to learn how to lead, to contribute, and to give back. I mean, this is a great institution, and I am enormously fortunate to be one of the many, many beneficiaries of this institution, and I am equally fortunate to be able to participate in helping that institution enable some of their objectives going forward.
Okay. Do you want to talk about this pledge?
No.
Well, what about the School of Computer Science? Why did you fund that? What did you think that would accomplish?
Well, my experience in the graduate College of Engineering at the University of Illinois was a enormously important and formative experience. It was a great experience. I was able to learn. I was able to learn how to learn. I was able to develop domain expertise in the field of my choice. I was able to go out into a field and play the game at a high level. I was able to contribute. And I think that I'm very, very privileged to have been associated with the engineering college, with the School of Computer Science, and I am a enormous beneficiary of what they have to offer. And so when they approached me about their desire to expand their capability in computer science and build a new facility at the University of Illinois, I saw this as a very, very exciting opportunity to participate and further the leadership of these great organizations so that they in turn could develop the next generations of leaders related to engineering and information technology. And it is a great privilege to have been able to play a small part in the furtherance of that cause.
Okay. Anything about growing up in Illinois at all, or Chicago, or do you want us to thank them for the prize, or or any of that stuff?
Well, when you think about Illinois, you think about Midwestern values. You think about work ethic. You think about integrity. You think about family. You think about faith. You think about quality business practices, and these are values that people from Illinois and from the Midwest have been able to apply in Washington, D.C., in Silicon Valley, in Paris, in Singapore, in Shanghai, in Beijing, and Tokyo. And I think they've contributed, these are values that have contributed to making the organizations with which these people are associated better organizations. I mean, if we look at the significant leaders in Silicon Valley, very, very many of them, come from Midwestern upbringings, whether it's Larry Ellison or Gordon Moore, Bob Noyce. I don't know that Bob Noyce is from the Midwest, but Noyce is a California guy. Was Moore a California guy?
Yeah.
Where'd he grow up?
He grew up in Redwood City. He was
That's
born
right.
in Pescadero.
That's right. Okay,
His
so
dad
we'll
was-
scratch that. You got enough.
Okay. All right.
One other quick thing, can you actually describe the Siebel Center for Computer Science? Because that, you really didn't get a sense of what it is that you established there, and
Well, the Siebel Center for Computer Science, what is that all about? That is about one of, I think, the great research and educational facilities focused on computer science on the planet Earth. It's a building, it's a laboratory, it's classrooms, it's research space, it's meeting space, it's social space. It's part of a quad. It's a great learning environment, a great teaching environment, a great social environment. And it's a great experience to be associated with it.
Okay. A benediction of any kind? You want to?
I'm sorry?
You want to just say any benedictive anything? Any parting thoughts?
Nope.